the reason I love this, the reason why I love what's called Mental Bank Ledger is because it's the most valuable tool that I've come across, the most simple tool that I've come across, that definitely really changes subconscious beliefs. Now, it's all going to make sense as we go through, but like I said, ask questions along the way. I'm going to try and keep this to about hopefully 35 minutes or so of getting to the point. I'll try not to waffle too much. I have a habit of doing that, like I am right now. But yeah, the reason why I do love this is because I was introduced to it about 3.5 years ago. Probably 3.5 years ago when I was, when Lauren, my ex, and I were seeing a psychotherapist. Now the psychotherapist actually dealt with, did hypnotherapy as well. And hypnotherapy basically is the act of accessing our subconscious. Now, why I love this and what I've got out of this across the time is some really big breakthroughs in relationships and financial. So you can use this system for any part of your life. Okay, it's very commonly used for breaking through financial hurdles and financial self-limiting beliefs, but you can also very easily use it for increasing happiness, for increasing the depth of your relationships, for increasing your health, whatever it is, and I'm going to explain how and why this happens. So to give you a little bit of a rundown of, I guess, what I was able to do with it, just so you understand why I really believe in it. I'll make it really short, but for me it was mostly around the financial stuff. So when I started doing this, when I started using this system, I was actually in Holland. It was in 2015, and in that year I was pretty much just on holiday for a year. I didn't really have any plans to work. I was studying a health coaching degree, and I was making an online program, studying a business digital marketing program as well. So there wasn't a lot of income at all. I was getting a little bit of income from online clients, but it was next to nothing. Now, up until this point, I had just basically done jobs out of uni, working for full-time salary, and throughout that time, I was always stuck on about the same amount of money. And that amount of money never exceeded about $60,000 per year, which I didn't feel like was, well, at first I felt like it was great money when I first came out of uni, but then I felt like the effort I was putting in was worth a lot more than what I was getting in return. Hey, Fanny. So through using this system, I was actually able to like double my income and then go beyond that. And this isn't to post at all because I'm still you know, not making millions, that's for sure. But I could feel the changes that happened with myself, and that was simply by doing this mental bank ledger. So this mental bank ledger simply works on changing our subconscious beliefs. Now, my belief around money was from, hey Sharada, was from when I was growing up. I grew up with a single mum, and I had a sister as well, and we didn't have a whole lot of money. Okay, we weren't scrapping to see where the next meal was coming from, but it was a matter of, you know, me never being able to get the shoes that I wanted, or have the crunchy nut cornflakes that I wanted, or whatever it was. Okay, money was always a reason why I couldn't have something. So I always had this feeling that money was hard to come by. And I actually remember thinking one day, after I had an argument with my mum about it, I'm not sure what age I was, maybe 10, 12, I remember actually even saying out loud one day, I'm gonna make so much money when I'm older, I'm gonna make like $60,000 per year. And that was a seed that I planted. And then straight away after uni, I was pretty much on $60,000 per year. That was my first sort of proper job, full-time job. And for years, I didn't go past that. And I knew, I guess I subconsciously knew that it was my subconscious holding me back, because I couldn't perceive how people could make more money than that. Because at the start, that was my upper limit. And when you're up at your upper limit, you're going to come up against a lot of resistance. Now, this is with money, this is with relationships, this is with your health. Whatever it is, if you're close to where your subconscious upper limit is, then it's going to be very, very hard to progress past that. So let's switch it around for health. Okay, if your upper limit is, I'll keep it aesthetic and superficial. If your upper limit is walking around at 20% body fat, and that's an amazing feat for you, where you think, fuck, I'm going to be so fit and healthy when I'm at 20% body fat. Once you're at 20% body fat, it's going to be very, very hard for you to break through that and get to 15% body fat, because there's no perceived knowledge of how to do that. So that's basically why I love Mental Bank Ledger, because within like 2 months of coming back to Australia from Holland, where I was earning actually no money, I was able to go way, way past that $60,000, and I could actually feel a difference in how I thought about money. No more was it like, holy fuck, that person is earning $100,000, or you know, there's no way that I could earn that much, to all of a sudden it feeling like a natural thing. So I could really tell it was my subconscious. So first of all, that's why I guess believe in this, and I've used it, like I said, for relationships and just for I guess betterment of my life as well along the way. But the one thing to understand first is how powerful our subconscious is. So I'm just going to switch this camera around now. Okay, hopefully this works. Maybe. Let's see how I can do this. Still a bit of a spaz on this. Okay. Sorry guys. Okay, well, I'll leave it like this for now. Not sure how to spin that camera. So basically, to understand what our subconscious is, we need to understand that we live our lives very, very much governed by our subconscious. Okay, our subconscious, which are all our beliefs and behaviors that are ingrained into us from early childhood, they really govern how we live day to day, and we're actually not even aware of most of these subconscious. As we get more conscious, through meditation, through this, through other things, then we start accessing and being able to become aware of our subconscious, and that's where we get really good awareness. But if you think about an iceberg, okay, I really wish I could switch this. I thought I had it under control, but oh, there we go. Okay, so I'm just going to put this on the whiteboard now. So, if we think about an iceberg, okay, this is a sort of very common analogy. This is an iceberg, this is the water, this is our conscious. All of this part of the iceberg is our subconscious. So all of this stuff we're actually not aware of. This is the only part that we're really aware of day to day. This is the stuff where we think about what to do. All of this is autopilot. All of this governs you know, which way we drive to work, what we largely do in the morning when we wake up, okay? So what we're effectively trying to do when we change habits and whatnot is do things up here to then make them down here, so they actually happen automatically. Now, all of this stuff down here, all this subconscious, basically means that we are always wanting to return to homeostasis. So what I mean by that is that our body is always we're always trying to stay the same. Now, if we want to change the subconscious, there's going to be a lot of resistance, and we're going to have to work really, really hard. So what we're effectively trying to do with Mental Bank Ledger is trying to change some of this subconscious. So at the moment, okay, you might have limiting beliefs in here that were formed in childhood around your health, maybe around relationships, maybe around money. So in my explanation, I had a lot of limiting beliefs around money that were down here. I wasn't even aware of them at first, and they really, really governed how I lived my life and the income that I made, and therefore the effect that I had on the world. Now, your subconscious, you might have those limiting beliefs around how healthy you can be, how low body fat, how strong you are. I also had a lot of subconscious beliefs around that as I grew up really skinny and weak. So I had to do a lot of changing of this down here. So this is what Mental Bank really tries to change, is this down here. So hopefully that makes sense in terms of what we're trying to do with Mental Bank. And I hope you see how important our subconscious is. So just to reiterate, if you have any subconscious belief down here, well, any subconscious beliefs you have are going to completely determine how you live your life. They're going to determine, and then I guess what I want to really say is the only difference between myself and Bill Gates, or you and whoever, okay, someone really successful, the only difference isn't what they were born with, isn't necessarily how hard they've worked. It might be a little bit of a part of it, but the massive, massive difference is their programming. Okay, their programming from childhood, which gives us our subconscious beliefs. Imagine if you're Richard Branson's son, your subconscious beliefs around money are going to be very, very powerful compared to someone like me that grew up with not a lot of money. And therefore, his outcomes and his income is going to be very, very much different, because he's going to come to expect a lot more money coming in. Now, what's important to know is that if our subconscious belief is, if we're too far below our subconscious belief, and I'll keep it, let's talk about health. Let's say our subconscious belief is that we deserve to be healthy and deserve to feel fit, but then all of a sudden we're down here compared to where we expect to be up here of health, but we're down here. Maybe we've been sick for a little bit, maybe we've been really busy with a job. If we all of a sudden see ourselves down here, that's going to create anxiety, that's going to create an uncomfortable feeling, and all of a sudden we're going to be really motivated to get back up to here. Okay, so our subconscious programming can actually help us out as well. It's not always that it's holding us back. But in the other case of our health, if this is our base level of health that we expect of ourselves, if all of a sudden we start pushing shit up here, okay, maybe our version of health is that 20% body fat, and then all of a sudden we have a good 4 weeks, you jump on a scan and you see yourself at 17% body fat, that's going to start, you're going to start getting some resistance around that, because your belief isn't that you should be 17% body fat, okay? And that's where self-sabotage may come in. You might start finding yourself going out and having some benders and whatnot to subconsciously get back down to here where you're most comfortable. So we're always trying to return to homeostasis. So that's why we have to work extra hard, and I'm going to go through the principles of mental bank ledger of how all of this fits in with trying to break this subconscious homeostasis pattern. So I'm going to flip the camera around again and see if you've got any questions, and then I'm going to start explaining the principles behind mental bank ledger, and then I'm going to actually show you how to do it straight away. Okay, cool. Still got a few people watching, which is good. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you could understand what I was doing on the board there. Any questions? I don't think so. Cool, no questions at the moment. So hopefully that makes sense why the subconscious is our most powerful governing body of our whole system. So what I'm going to talk about now is those principles of the mental bank ledger, and there's about 5 of them that I'm going to go through, which is why this system works, unlike anything else that I've done or come across. So number 1 is that we need to believe. We need to come to believe about how powerful our subconscious is. If we understand how powerful our subconscious is, which is why I just went through it, then there will be a big buy-in into this process. If you don't see how your subconscious has an effect on what we do in everyday life, then you're not going to buy into this process, because it's all about changing our subconscious. So that's the number 1 principle, is that we need to come to believe that the subconscious is really, really important in governing our life. The number 2 principle for mental bank ledger is frequency. And I talk about this with training, I talk about this with diet, I talk about this all the time. It's consistency of doing something day in, day out. Now, the best analogy of what we're trying to do here is that think about a bucket of water. Okay, that bucket of water is our current belief system. Okay, it's a bit left field, but just hang with me. So a bucket of water is your current belief system. What we're trying to do, so we're trying to change that belief system, that subconscious belief system, but that subconscious belief system didn't happen overnight. It happened maybe over a couple of incidences when you were younger. Maybe it was compounded day after day when you were younger. But you've lived with it for a very long time. Okay, our subconscious, mostly our programming, was really done through childhood. So what we're trying to do with that bucket of water is every single day we're trying to drop in one little pebble at a time. Now, what happens when you drop in one pebble? You don't notice any change in the water. The next day you drop in another pebble. There's still no change. A third pebble, there's still no change. But after weeks, after months, all of a sudden, and before you know it, that bucket is full of pebbles. You don't know exactly when it happened, and you don't know exactly how you got there, but all of a sudden, that belief system has completely changed. Now, another analogy that you can think about is from a book that I read recently. I've actually forgotten the book. I read a fair bit, but think about the process of change is the same thing. The process of change as though you're pushing a big fulcrum, if you have a big old fulcrum that's really, really heavy to spin, it might weigh 2 tons. Okay, you try and spin it once, doesn't really move. You try and spin it again, it doesn't move. You do it a 10th time, it starts moving a little bit. 11th time, it starts moving a bit more. Then all of a sudden, it's like 10,000 revolutions per minute. Now, you don't know which spin, which push made it get to 10,000 per minute. And the fact is that it wasn't just one spin, it was that momentum over time of push, that got it to that 10,000 spins per minute. And it's the same with this. It's just dropping one pebble in the bucket of water every day. It's the same with training or nutrition. Okay, you don't know how you got from 20% body fat to 10% body fat. It wasn't one magic pill, unfortunately. It was a matter of process. So that's the second principle with Mental Bank Ledger, is that we need daily reinforcement. Okay, daily reinforcement, meaning that this is going to be a task that you commit to every single day. Now that might sound like a big commitment, but once you get used to it, it actually only takes 2 to 3 minutes every single day. Principle number 3 of Mental Bank Ledger is that we use symbolic language. So symbolic language is language that our primitive brain, I guess, can understand very easily. And that's numbers, number signs, dollar symbol, sorry, and also the fact that we're going to handwrite. So handwriting means that it's very personal to us. There's no way that you can copy someone else's handwriting, which means when we actually handwrite, we own it more. Okay, more so than typing on a computer. So number 3 principle is symbolic language. In the Mental Bank Ledger, we use numbers, we use dollar signs, and we handwrite. The 4th principle that makes this really, really effective is what's called the 30-minute window. So the 30-minute window is the fact that we need to do this exercise 30 minutes before going to bed, okay, or 30 minutes upon waking. Now, the reason, or what this 30-minute window means essentially, is that the 30 minutes before we fall asleep is actually the time where we're closest to accessing our subconscious. We're in, I've forgotten what state of brainwaves we're in, theta, maybe, brainwaves. But basically, all it means is that we're closest to accessing our subconscious, which is what we're trying to get to when we meditate. So they're the main principles of why this system works. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly reiterate what I've said, and then I'm going to go jump straight into actually how you do this to start changing those subconscious beliefs. So first principle is that you need to come to believe. So that's why I went through how powerful the subconscious is and how much the subconscious actually rules our life from day to day. Okay, remember, everything that we do, or 90% of how we live our life, our thoughts, our behaviors, our interactions, our emotions even, are learned as a kid. Okay, just think about that again. 90% of what we do is subconscious. We actually we're not aware of what we do. The next principle is that we need to do this daily. The next principle is that we use symbolic language that the brain easily understands. And the next principle is that we do it within 30 minutes of waking or of going to bed, because that's when our brain is closest to accessing our subconscious. So, first of all, what is it? Mental Bank Ledger. It's simply a notepad or a journal that you write in every single day. Like I said, daily reinforcement. So I dug out a couple of my old Mental Bank Ledgers here. This is my first one that I found. This is from Holland from 2015, I believe, 2015. And this is a more recent one. So I'm going to basically run you through, I'm going to flip the camera around, I'm going to run you through how to do this now. Okay, now stay with me. I'll jump back and I'll have a look if there's any questions semi-regularly to see if I can answer them, because there probably will be questions on this part. But I'll take you through exactly how to do it, okay? And it's going to be fucking powerful. So, I'm going to flip this around. All right, we can read pack strength, bang. All right, so the number one thing we need to do on the first side of your notepad is make a contract with ourselves. Now this contract is the contract with yourself of what you're going to do for yourself. So number one, make the contract. So, contracts can simply look like this. I, Luke Sharp. If you have a notepad and pen, do this with me and get started straight away. Okay, this is going to be the start of changing any self-limiting beliefs. Or if you don't think you have self-limiting beliefs, it can be about, and by the way, we all do, it can actually, you'll see that you can just use it for some accountability to get shit done that will make your life better. So I, Luke Sharp, on the 11th of the 11th, 2018, vow to do the following activities and pay myself for them until I reach 4 times my mental bank income. Okay, there's going to be a lot of questions right now. I'm going to keep going on and then I'll come back and see if you have any specific questions, because I'll answer, it'll all make more sense as I go. Okay, so I realise that this right now seems really abstract. So this is the contract. This is the first thing that we do. So what we're essentially doing in this process is we're going to identify value activities that add value to your life. And we're going to pay ourselves for doing them. And as we pay ourselves for doing them, our balance, our mental bank balance, is going to increase every day. So, the next thing that we do is we need to decide, well, first of all, the first thing that we need to do is you need to work out exactly how much money is coming in per year for you right now. Now we do this whether you're going to do mental bank around money, or whether you're going to do it around relationships, or around happiness, or around health, or a combination of all of them. But the first thing you need to do is decide how much money you're actually on now. So I'm going to give you an example. So if you're on $50,000 right now, what we actually do for a mental bank income is double that number. So if you're on $50,000 right now, your mental bank income is actually going to be $100,000. $100,000 is our mental bank income. So we're choosing a number that's double. This is a number that we're going to write down every single day at the top of our page, which I'll show you in a second. Now the reason why we do double is because through a lot of research, it seems to be the number that people are able to write down that pushes their upper limits, their homeostasis beliefs, around how much money they can earn. It pushes it, but it doesn't, for the majority, it doesn't push it so much that there's too much resistance to even write it down. Because if you wrote down 3 times the amount that you're earning right now, there's going to be too much disconnect between what you believe is possible. Okay, so this is our mental bank income. 4 times my mental bank income of $100,000. Now I need to choose activities that are going to add value to my life. So if I'm focusing on career, what I'm going to do is choose about 5 to 6 activities that I actually don't do now, or that I find really hard to do, and I'm going to pay myself to do them. If you want to do this mostly around relationships, you're going to do same thing, 5 to 6 activities that you find hard to do in your relationship at the moment, but you know will add value to your relationships. If you want to do some for relationships, some for health, some for business, you can do that. And that's generally what I do. I do a couple for business, a couple for relationships, a couple for, not normally training, because I normally find that quite easy to make myself do. Lifestyle, I think, is the other one that I normally do. So, I'm going to run through an example. Actually, I'll just check if you've got any questions at the moment. All makes perfect sense so far. Did a pause for everyone. Just write up if this is paused for anyone else. Justin just said it's paused. I'll keep on going, then I'll check Justin. Hopefully it's working again for you. So you've got your mental bank income. Now what you're going to do is you're going to choose the activities. So I'm going to run through this quite quickly, this part, because this is really up to you, what you choose. So let's say I'm going to do, and remember, we need to do things that are going to advance your life, not things that you're necessarily already doing at the moment, not things that subconsciously you find easy to do. Subconsciously, I've got it programmed in me that I need to exercise, I need to train, I need to be strong, I need to be big, okay? That means training is fucking easy for me, and I don't need to pay myself for activities of training or of health. But if you have subconscious beliefs around that, then that's gonna help you live a happier life, then by all means put that in. Like I said, it's gonna be different for everyone. So I'm gonna do a generic sort of mental bank activities here. So I'm gonna say calling sales leads. Calling sales leads. That was actually on one of my first mental banks, because I fucking hated, even if people inquired via email or via social media, I hated talking to them on the phone because I'm not a natural salesperson. So I had a lot of resistance around talking to people on the phone and feeling as though I had to sell to them. And that was because of my subconscious belief around money. Funny that. So that's going to need one activity, okay? Now, your activities, how much you pay yourself, is going to be move the decimal spot 3 spots. 1, 2, 3, $100. So I'm going to pay myself $100 for calling sales leads. Just going to check that's frozen. Oh, shit. Sorry about that. Phone just had a little fall. Okay, back on, hopefully. Just calling sales leads. Okay, another one might be putting up or writing a blog. Writing blog, $100. Okay, so there are 2 business activities that I might pay myself for, and then I might have 2 relationship activities. So I actually had one with an ex of full disclosure. Okay, there was some trust issues early on in the relationship, and so I started paying myself for making sure that I was 100% open and honest with her. Full disclosure, 100. And then you might do another one for a relationship, maybe if you really want to focus on your relationship and it doesn't come naturally to you, so you know you need to put effort into the relationship. It might be having date night. $100. If you have limitations around your health, okay, and you find it really hard to get to the gym, to come in here and train, then you might pay yourself for that. Getting to the wild movement, 100. So all of a sudden we've got 5 activities on there. You know, if you do those things, your life is going to move forward. Now, here's the thing. Out of those 5 things, and it doesn't matter if you have 5 things or you have 8 things, okay? I wouldn't go over 8 though, it's going to get a little bit too much. You can actually identify one of them that has the most resistance around, so you find really, really hard to do. Okay, so let's say for me, it's calling sales leads. I'm going to pay myself double for that. That's going to be $200. And you might do one other thing that you know will bring the biggest return to your life. Okay, maybe that's, of course, getting to the wild movement. So you're also going to pay yourself $200 for that one. Now, this number is either a flat rate, if it's a flat rate activity, or it's per hour. So let's say you find marketing, just in general, marketing work very tough. That would be more of a hourly rate. Okay, so you pay yourself $100 per hour to do that. Let's say you study and you find it hard to study, but you know studying is going to add to your life. You would pay yourself $100 an hour for your study. So it can be anything, but the main thing that you need to think about is that it automatically is quite hard for you. Okay, it's not ingrained in your subconscious to do it easily and freely, and that it's going to add value to your life. So as long as it ticks off that criteria, then you pay yourself. Okay, you pay yourself like that. I'm just going to check if there's any questions, and then I'll come back. Okay. It seems to have paused